Welcome back to WNBA time. In professional sports, there is an unwritten expectation. When your franchise superstar delivers a miraculous shot that rescues both the game and potentially your reputation, the proper response afterward is appreciation. When a once-in-a-generation player covers up an otherwise questionable coaching performance with a jaw-dropping 31-foot game winner from the logo, you walk into that press conference praising your star and sharing the moment with the fans who invest their time and money into your team. But it seems Stephanie White never got that message. Today, we're breaking down one of the most baffling, dismissive, and disconnected press conferences the WNBA has seen in quite some time. Rather than embracing Caitlin Clark's unforgettable game-winning heroics against the Washington Mystics, Stephanie White chose to criticize the fan reaction, minimize the excitement surrounding the sport, and strangely redirect much of the praise toward Kelsey Mitchell. The footage exists. The comments are on record. And we're going to reveal exactly what these remarks may say about the current situation unfolding in Indiana. Before we examine the clips, let's establish the context. At this moment, the Indiana Fever offense appears completely out of sync. They managed just 78 points in this win. Prior to Stephanie White taking control of this group, the very same core routinely produced 90 to 100 points per game. They pushed the pace, attacked in transition, and became one of the most thrilling attractions in all of professional basketball. Now, possessions often stall. Empty seats have become more noticeable in the arena, and viewers watching from home are voicing their frustration as the coaching staff repeatedly keeps the ball away from arguably the league's most gifted playmaker. And when reporters finally questioned Stephanie White about the growing concerns coming from Fever supporters, her response left many stunned. Take a listen to what the Indiana Fever head coach had to say about the very people filling the stands and helping drive the league's television success.
Back up. So when my neighbor comes up to me and tells me that he's so frustrated he's yelling at the TV because he wants Caitlin to shoot more. And you see social media, of course you do, and we all do. And we see frustration if Caitlin doesn't have the ball, or if something goes wrong, or if the team doesn't play well in the fourth quarter, all those things that happen in sports. What's your answer to those fans?
I don't know that I really have an answer for the fans. I think, I have to answer to our team, and our franchise. And we're trying to win ball games. We're not trying to appease the masses.
We're not trying to appease the masses. Let that statement sink in for a moment. We're not trying to appease the masses. Those words perfectly highlight the growing divide between Stephanie White's philosophy and the reality of today's professional sports landscape. The WNBA is experiencing an unprecedented surge in popularity. Television deals are expanding rapidly. Charter travel has finally become a reality. Players are receiving the national recognition they've long earned. And what is driving all of this progress? The answer is simple: the fans. Millions of new viewers have tuned in because they were drawn to Caitlin Clark's exciting, fast-paced brand of basketball. So when you suggest that satisfying the masses isn't important, you're dismissing the very audience fueling the league's rise. When you're coaching a player like Caitlin Clark, winning and entertainment aren't separate concepts. She represents one of those rare athletes capable of delivering both at the highest level. During her rookie campaign, particularly after the Olympic break, the Indiana Fever weren't just collecting victories, they were captivating audiences. The two-player chemistry between Clark and Aaliyah Boston was electric. Their transition game overwhelmed opponents. The Fever had developed one of the most enjoyable offenses in the sport. Stephanie White inherited a system that was productive and exciting, only to replace it with a slower, isolation-focused approach that many fans now find frustrating to watch. Yet, criticism from the fan base seems to be treated as the problem rather than the declining product itself. However, the disconnect with supporters wasn't the only issue raised during this press conference. We also need to address the inconsistency in how Stephanie White publicly discusses her players. In our previous breakdown, Kelsey Mitchell played a major role in Indiana's loss against the New York Liberty. She dominated possessions, settled for difficult shots, and left Caitlin Clark largely uninvolved offensively. When White was questioned about that performance, she avoided singling Mitchell out. Instead, She framed it as a collective issue, repeatedly using terms like we and spreading responsibility across the entire roster. Her veteran guard was shielded from direct criticism. Now compare that response to what happened against Washington. Caitlin Clark drilled a stunning logo three-pointer that rescued the Fever from what could have been an embarrassing defeat. Reporters asked about the key plays that secured the win. Did Stephanie White focus primarily on Clark's remarkable heroics? Not even close. Instead, she made a deliberate effort to redirect attention toward Kelsey Mitchell for executing a routine basketball play. Watch closely as the conversation takes an unexpected turn.
These post-game pressers, let's take a look.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's about finding ways, and we found a way, get a couple of defensive stops, a couple of buckets. I thought, when we had the loose ball that Shakira got and C found Kelsey, and somehow she found her balance and made the layup. I mean, those are all winning plays.
Somehow C found Kelsey, and I don't know how Kelsey Mitchell found her balance. And
somehow she regained control and finished the layup. Are we honestly supposed to believe that was the defining sequence of the night? We're talking about a professional athlete converting a wide-open layup created by an exceptional pass from Caitlin Clark, yet the head coach described it as though it were the play that changed everything. The contradiction couldn't be more obvious. When Kelsey Mitchell's decision-making disrupts the flow of the offense and results in questionable possessions, her identity is shielded from criticism. But when Caitlin Clark delivers a breathtaking game-winning shot from the logo, the immediate response is to spread the spotlight elsewhere by emphasizing a routine finish at the rim. At a certain point, fans have every right to question whether this pattern is intentional. The repeated effort to redirect attention away from the team's biggest star has become increasingly difficult to ignore. It raises concerns that Stephanie White may be attempting to balance personalities within the locker room by minimizing the recognition earned by a generational talent. Whether that approach is fair or effective is up for debate, but supporters are certainly noticing it. And that's exactly why the reaction has been so intense. Listen to the frustration expressed by Keep the Vision as he breaks down what many Fever fans view as a glaring double standard, because his comments capture the growing sentiment of a fan base that is exhausted from watching this same dynamic unfold over and over again.
She made the layup. Wait a minute, bro. Wait a minute, bro. This ain't the kid. Don't bring up Kelsey now, because you refused to say Kelsey Mitchell's name last game when she was out there jacking up shots versus the New York Liberty. You refused. You wanted to broaden it. Oh, the team, as a team, we kind of had tunnel vision. No, you should have said Kelsey Mitchell name last presser. Don't bring it up now. Trying to make it seem like, oh man, she caught the ball, got her balance. No, we're not doing that. This is about Caitlin Clark. Let's leave it there.
He captured the issue perfectly. You can't demand accountability selectively. You can't shield a veteran player from criticism when her style of play becomes detrimental to the team, then suddenly elevate that same player into the spotlight for simply executing an expected basketball play. The reality is that this story revolves around Caitlin Clark. It was Caitlin Clark who rescued this game, and yet Stephanie White continues to avoid allowing her franchise star to enjoy a straightforward, unquestioned moment of recognition. But if the earlier comments seemed frustrating, what came next was even more surprising. The level of disconnect displayed afterward was difficult to comprehend. A reporter posed a completely reasonable question, asking whether a defining moment like this dramatic game-winning shot might help silence some of the criticism surrounding the team. Instead of embracing the opportunity to celebrate the accomplishment, Stephanie White launched into a broader discussion about how Caitlin Clark is often taken for granted. She suggested that people outside the organization have unrealistic expectations and expect perfection at all times. However, when you carefully examine the substance of those remarks, many fans believe they reveal something else entirely. Rather than addressing legitimate concerns about coaching decisions and team performance, it sounded as though frustration was being redirected toward the audience itself. To critics, the comments felt less like a defense of Caitlin Clark and more like an attempt to shift responsibility away from the coaching staff. That's why this particular exchange has generated so much debate. Watch this remarkable sequence closely, because many viewers believe it says far more than the speaker may have intended.
Better just quiet the noise and give you guys a ton of momentum. I don't know that the noise is ever going to be quiet. This is what Caitlin does. She makes big shots and she has big moments, and I think when you have a player like her, it's very easy for people to just take it for granted and to think that everything that she does is always going to be.
You the one taking it for granted. You the one not using her.
The level of boldness it takes for Stephanie White to suggest that fans are taking Caitlin Clark for granted is truly astonishing. Those same fans are the ones constantly calling for the coaching staff to maximize her abilities and place her in positions to succeed. They're the people reacting in disbelief when Clark is taken out barely moments into the second quarter, only to remain on the bench for extended stretches while the team's offense struggles to generate points. They're the ones voicing frustration when questionable foul calls involving the franchise player go unchallenged. If anyone appears to be taking Caitlin Clark's talent for granted, critics argue it's the coaching staff itself. There seems to be an expectation that Clark will repeatedly rescue flawed offensive possessions as the shot clock expires. There appears to be an assumption that she'll quietly accept a reduced role while others dominate the offense. Many fans believe the organization is mishandling the development of one of the most impactful players the league has ever seen, only to criticize the public for recognizing the issue. Yet even after all of that, the press conference still had one final twist. Despite discussing Caitlin's growth and the journey she's been on over the past year and a half, Stephanie White once again found a way to redirect the conversation. Just when it seemed the spotlight would remain on the player whose heroics secured the victory, the discussion shifted back to Kelsey Mitchell. It was as if the urge to revisit that familiar talking point simply couldn't be resisted. Watch how this quote wraps up, because many viewers were left wondering why the focus repeatedly drifted away from the player who delivered the defining moment of the game.
To 24 months for her, and so she's finding her way. And every opportunity that she gets to hit a shot like that or to get a stop. I mean, she got a big defensive stop for us. To get a pass like she did to Kelsey is an opportunity to continue to feel more and more like herself and grow.
Bringing up Kelsey again.
Grow that confidence back. And I say this.
She seemingly cannot acknowledge Caitlin Clark's incredible game-winning logo shot without immediately redirecting attention to a routine assist that led to a Kelsey Mitchell basket. To many observers, it comes across as a fascinating example of subtle deflection. We're discussing a player who just delivered one of the season's most memorable clutch moments, yet the conversation shifts as though she's an inexperienced rookie still searching for confidence in her game. The idea that Caitlin Clark needs to rediscover belief in herself doesn't align with what fans have witnessed. What critics argue she needs is a coaching system capable of maximizing her unique talents within a modern offensive structure. And while we're discussing credit, it's important to recognize the contributions behind that final sequence. Reports indicated that the play which ultimately placed the ball in Clark's hands originated from assistant coach Austin Kelly. The action that helped secure the victory wasn't necessarily crafted by the head coach herself. Many frustrated supporters have even joked that, left to other preferences, the final possession might have resulted in an isolation opportunity ending with a heavily contested attempt. The Indiana Fever now find themselves at a pivotal moment. On one side, they possess a transcendent talent capable of transforming the franchise into a perennial contender. On the other, critics see a coaching approach that has alienated portions of the fan base, failed to fully optimize offensive personnel, and created unnecessary distractions through inconsistent public messaging. Building a championship environment requires trust, unity, and accountability. Fans aren't voicing concerns because they feel entitled. They're speaking up because they recognize what effective basketball execution looks like. They understand the importance of spacing, the impact of a well-orchestrated pick and roll, and the difference between an offense that elevates its stars and one that restricts them. Many believe the current situation risks squandering the potential of a truly generational player. If those concerns continue to go unanswered, supporters fear that declining enthusiasm could eventually become impossible to ignore. Here at WNBA Time, The focus isn't on protecting reputations or avoiding difficult conversations. The goal is to examine what unfolds on the court, evaluate the decisions being made, and encourage meaningful discussion about the direction of the game. If you're tired of seeing questionable coaching decisions escape scrutiny, be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and join the conversation below. Do you think Stephanie White is intentionally redirecting attention away from Caitlin Clark, or has she simply become disconnected from the perspective of today's fans? Share your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next breakdown.